There's a team in the Arctic Circle, a team in Norway, in the frigid Arctic Circle, in the town of Bodø. There's a team, Bodø Glimt, that was a nobody for most of its history. A team that didn't spend most of its history in the first league, but now, for the first time, is becoming a powerhouse in Norway and is quickly becoming a Norwegian superpower. This is the story of Bodø Glimt, how they rose from nothing against all obstacles, obstacles from the environment that they live in, obstacles from the Norwegian FA, to become European giants. Bodø Glimt is located in the town of Bodø. Bodø is the second largest town in northern Norway, having only 50,000 people. Northern Norway does not have that many people. Only 500,000 people live in northern Norway. Tromsø has a little bit more people than Bodø, but not that much. And that's 500,000 out of a population of 6.5 million in Norway. Because the majority of the people living in Norway live in the warmer southern part of the country, in towns such as Oslo, Bergen, not in Bodø or Tromsø. Because these places are known for being cold and being extremely dark during the winter time. I know Tromsø can experience complete darkness for many days. And even Bodø, the environment isn't that much different, despite it being a little bit more south than Tromsø. In the summertime, for example, the warmest temperature you might get in July or June is 60 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 degrees Celsius on a really good day. This is a team playing in very frigid, extreme temperatures in an extreme part of the world. It wasn't just the environment that held them back. Bodø Glimt was founded in 1916. But throughout most of its history, it wasn't even allowed to play in the Norwegian Cup or the Norwegian First League. The Norwegian FA did not allow teams from Northern Norway to play in the Norwegian Cup until 1963. And then they didn't allow them to get promoted until the top league until 1972. Northern Norway had their own regional league and they were not allowed to play in the top Norwegian league. The excuse that the Norwegian FA used was that they felt like because of the environment and where these teams are located that they were at a disadvantage, so that they should have just their small little regional league and not be able to play in the main competitions in Norway, which created a lot of resentment in the north because they felt like they were being excluded from football, that they were not given the same opportunities. It wasn't just the environment that was putting obstacles in their way, it was the Norwegian FA as well. It was bureaucracy, environment, everything was going against teams such as Bodø Glimt, not just Bodø Glimt. Finally, in 1972, the Norwegian FA allowed teams from the north to finally be able to qualify for the top Norwegian league. But they didn't give them the same opportunities as teams from the south. Because at that time, there was 3 second division leagues. There was 2 in the south and 1 in the north. And the ones in the south, if they won their southern second division, they received automatic promotion to the first league, but not ones from the north. No, they still had obstacles. The winner from the Norwegian second division, they had to play one of the top teams in one of the other second division leagues in the south. They didn't even get automatic promotion. They had to play a playoff after already winning the second division to be able to play in the first division. And this created the most outrage in 1975. And you know who that outrage started with? That outrage started with Bodø Glimt. Because in that year, Bodø Glimt, they won the Norwegian Cup and they came in first in the Norwegian Northern Second League. But they still didn't receive promotion because in that playoff, they did not come out on top. So they created a lot of outrage and they created change in the Norwegian FA, where after that, they finally allowed teams in the Norwegian Second Northern League to receive automatic promotion into the top league. And after that, in 1977, Bodø Glimt got promoted for the first time to the Norwegian top league. And they stayed there for 4 seasons until getting relegated and then not returning in 1993. And in 1993, they ended up staying there for a while in 2006. After 2006, got relegated again. For the next 10 years, it was a constant jumping between the first and the second, staying maybe in the second for season 2, staying in the first for season 2, then getting demoted, and then getting promoted again. So as you can see, this was a team that for most of its history was a nobody. Part of that was because of the obstacles that were created for it, from its environment to the Norwegian FA. 2016, they decided to hire local boy club legend Osmund Bjorken as their new coach. And I know what you're thinking, this was when they turned around. Not exactly. He got the team relegated his first season as coach. He was able to win promotion the following season pretty comfortably in the second league, being named the top head coach of the second league. However, he did not stay as head coach the following season. He allowed his unknown assistant to take over, a man by the name of Kjetil Knutsen. A man that was originally not from northern Norway. He was from Bergen, the second biggest city in Norway, in southern Norway. But Kjetil Knutsen also had a very interesting past. Let's look into the past of Kjetil Knutsen. Before becoming an assistant coach in Bodø Glimt, 2 seasons prior, he had spent most of his career coaching and working for teams in Bergen, where he was from, before finally moving to a different location in Norway. His first coaching gig was with Hafting, which was a 5th division team in Norway, so very obscure, nobody team. And he spent 9 seasons there, winning promotion 2 of those 9 seasons. So he did help that team become a better team than he was before he came there, but you know, it took a while. And then after that, he took a break from coaching and then he became part of the coaching staff in Brann, which is the main team in Bergen. There, he worked as head of the first team development, so he had a minor role there. Sure, it helped him a lot in developing his skills as a coach. And then after doing that for 5 years, he decided to go back to coaching, first taking over for Blingsdalen, and then taking over the position in Asane. Now with Asane, he was their coach for 3 seasons. The first season, they started off in the 3rd league, and he was able to win a promotion. Then he was their coach for the next 2 seasons, and then after the 3rd season, he got fired, which I'm sure looking back now was a blessing, because after that, he decided to work for a team outside of Bergen, joining the coaching staff for Bodø Glimt, first becoming an assistant coach. So match made in heaven. Obscure coach, moving to a different town, trying to get a break, trying to show what he can do, and a team that also needed a break. A team that also needed to show what they can really become. And Kjetil Knutsen transformed them into that new team. Now, let's look at the style of play that Kjetil Knutsen had. Bodø Glimt plays. How did Kjetil Knutsen transform Bodø Glimt from this obscure team to this European superpower? Let's look into the style of play that he had him playing. And I know what you're thinking. Style of play? This obscure team has trouble even staying in the Norwegian league and now is defeating big European teams. He probably has them playing extremely defensive, right? Parking the bus? Wrong. Kjetil Knutsen has Bodø Glimt playing the exact opposite of that. He has them playing extremely attack-minded football. He has them playing a 4-3-3 formation typically, but it's not a static 4-3-3. In his 4-3-3, players are encouraged to move around, attack. He plays with fullbacks that play more like wingers on attack. His wingers play more like inverted forwards. He has a very dynamic 3 midfield, and that midfield can play outside of the lines. They can switch positions between each other, so he has them playing this extremely attacking type of football. Starts with defense. On defense, he has them playing an extremely high press, constantly trying to win the ball aggressively, pressing the other team. And then when they win the ball, they're trying to score a counter-attacking goal as quickly as possible. Attacking typically with 5 to 6 players the moment that they win a ball, trying to score the goal extremely quickly. And while they play very aggressive, they try to also play very methodical, playing quick passes, playing triangles, making very intelligent runs off the ball. He does not have them park the bus. He's very against parking the bus. He has them play very offensive, regardless of who the opponent is. He doesn't care if he's playing against some team in the Norwegian league who's a nobody, or whether he's playing some European superpower in Italy or in England. He has them play this style no matter who it is, playing extremely fearless, not scared against who they're playing against. And this type of play, the way that he coaches them, has won him the reputation as the Scandinavian Atalanta, mimicking a similar, very attacking approach that Atalanta plays. Fearlessness to play that way, regardless of who their opponent is, even if their opponent has bigger star players than they do. With his style of play, they started to take what they had as a disadvantage, the environment that they played in, the frigid, cold Arctic, and they used that as an advantage. They play on a turf field, and in the cold and the turf field that they play on, they use that to their advantage so that they can play that attacking football and surprise teams with attacking football that they play in their element, in their environment. And he has done all of this without paying huge transfer fees for players, without getting a huge infusion of cash from some outside investors. If anything, he has brought in a lot of money for Bodø Glimt with the transfer sales that he has made. And a big part of that is not only the style of play that they play, the player development that he has. The star players that they have, he's developed a lot of them. It's Some of them have even gone on to play for bigger teams after impressing with Bodø Glimt. Let's look at some of the players that did get transferred to other teams. One of them being Jean-Peter Hodge, who was sold for AC Milan and was looking as a very promising player in AC Milan. Unfortunately, he didn't have the career in AC Milan as was predicted and did end up returning to Bodø Glimt. Also, there was Patrick Berg, who played for one season in France for Lens. They've also had other players leave for big teams such as Ola Solbakken going to AC Roma on a free transfer. And their biggest transfer was Hugo Vetlesen, who went to play for Club Brugge in Belgium for $9 million in 2023 and is looking like a very promising player now in Belgium. Some other players have also played for the Norwegian national team while playing for them, Patrick Berg being the main one, having 31 caps, most of those coming while he was playing for Bodø Glimt. So let's look at the results. When Kjetil Knutsen took over Bodø Glimt, they were struggling to stay in the top league. They have never won the top league before that, but all that changed when he took over. His first season being manager of the team, they finished in 10th place, which might not sound impressive, but for them it was impressive considering that up until that point, the last 11 years, they were struggling to stay up every single season that they were in the top league. So they were able to stay up that season very comfortably. But the next season, 2020, is when it all changed. Because while they didn't win the league that season, they came in second place. A very impressive second place. And they set a tone. Because since that time, they've either won the league or they came in second place. The next season is when they finally won the league. For the very first time in 2020, they were champions of the Norwegian League. They've won the Norwegian League since then 4 out of 5 times. But it's not just what they're doing in Norway. It's not just that they transform into a Norwegian superpower. They're also transforming into a superpower in European competitions. The first season with him that they played in European competitions, they didn't go far, but they did have an impressive 3-2 defeat to AC Milan, showing that they were not scared to play their type of style of football against teams like AC Milan's giants of European competition. Now the following season in the Europa Conference League, that's when it really changed. They had the most impressive win ever, a 6-1 win against AC Milan and Jose Mourinho, giving Jose Mourinho his most embarrassing loss ever. And not just embarrassing because of who he was playing with, it was the hugest defeat he's ever had in his coaching career. That year they ended up finishing their group stage undefeated and they knocked out teams like Celtic and AZ Alkmaar before facing their nemesis, Jose Mourinho, once again in the quarterfinals. And this time, Jose Mourinho got his revenge and he defeated them. But they showed that they weren't scared, no matter who their opponent was. And they were able to get some crazy victories. The following season, they played in the Europa League in a group that had Arsenal, FC Zurich, and PSV Eindhoven. They ended up finishing 3rd place and not qualifying for European competition that season. And then they had another fairly impressive season in the European competition the following season after that, playing in the Europa Conference League once again, topping their group, but then losing to Fiorentina in the knockout stage. But they were starting to get a hang of playing against European teams and showing that they were not scared of whoever they were playing against, no matter who their opponent was. And this season is where they really showed what they can become. This season, they played in the Conference League. They had some very impressive wins in the group stage, winning against Porto, winning against Besiktas, winning against Braga. But the knockout stage is where they really showed who they can really be. First in the knockout stage, they knocked out FC Twente in Netherlands. And then they knocked out Olympiacos in Greece. But then it started to become really interesting when they faced against Lazio. In the first match in Bodø, they won impressively 2-0, dominating the match, playing very attacking football in their own environment, and starting off the first leg with really good momentum with a really good lead. But then they went into Rome, and Rome was a different environment. They had to hang on to that lead. And Lazio, they scored the first goal very early on in Rome, giving them a lead that game. But Bodø Glimt, they still had an advantage. They had an advantage over the 2 legs, and they kept attacking. They didn't park the bus. They had chances where they could have won it. They had chances where they should have scored a goal. It just didn't go their way. And then unfortunately, Lazio scored in the 93rd minute in stoppage time in a very thrilling game. And I know what you're thinking. They must have given up. Of course they've given up, right? This nobody. This team that shouldn't be playing here. Yes, they were up against Lazio for the longest time, but then Lazio luckily was able to come back at the very last minute. And we're talking about Lazio here against a small team from the Arctic, right? This was the end of their run. On top of that, Lazio scored the first goal in extra time, so it must have been over, right? No. Bodø Glimt showed their fighting spirit, and they came back. They tied the game in extra time. And then they ended up winning the game in penalty, showing the fighting spirit that they had, that they were able to play against anybody. And right now, in the first leg of the semifinals, they've lost against Tottenham. But who knows? Maybe they'll come back. At one point, they were down 3-0 in the first leg against Tottenham until they scored a goal at the very end to make it 3-1 in London, and now they're coming to Bodø. And yeah, the odds are against them, and most likely, I'll be realistic. They'll probably lose the second leg. Maybe they'll tie the second leg. Maybe they'll even win by 1 goal. But they probably won't make it to the next round. But at the same time, there's a part of me that I wouldn't discount this team. And even if they lose against Tottenham, I have a feeling that they'll be back next season and they'll be playing their type of football. They'll be playing their attacking style of football still, being the underdog that they are, not scared of anybody. And hopefully they'll stay like that for a really long time. Because you know what? This is what makes football good. This is what makes football great. The exciting style of football that they play. But also this underground that should be nobody, becoming somebody. So this is the story of Bodø Glimt, a team from the Arctic that was discriminated by their own federation. A team of resistance, a team of resilience, a team that plays attacking style of football, not fearful of anybody.